live from his room in his parents' basement.
Whoa. There isn't a switch that we can turn it on or off.
It's the Mo Radio Show.
You think he's evil? He is the biggest dork on the planet.
Wait a minute.
The Mo Radio Show on the Showtime Worldwide Radio Network.
Wow, welcome back. It is the Mo Radio Show. Been a long time. You can follow me on Twitter at Mo Radio Show. Sports punditry and other stupid crap if you'd like. We have Instagram as well. The Mo Radio Show there on Instagram. We used to have Facebook, but somehow we're still in Facebook jail. So you can't follow us on Facebook yet, but you will be able to coming up. The show is back, sort of. Well, I guess might as well get the announcement out of the way. The show will be returning also in a video format as well. So if listening is not bad enough, you'll be able to see me and interact with the show coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Still trying to figure out if we're going to do daily, weekly, how we're going to work all that out. Nothing like making an announcement with no idea of the actual plans, but that's how we kind of roll here. Took a break for a little bit. My compadre, Billy Elvis from the BS Sports Show, is over in Lima, Ohio now at 93.1 The Fan. I encourage you to follow him on Twitter at Billy Elvis and listen to him mornings with Koza in the morning on that show. And then Saturday afternoons has his own show from 10 until noon, Sports Talk with Billy Elvis, which I am a frequent guest on. And our other place, the other place where you can hear actually both Billy and I, is on Sports Betting Weekly. And you can go to their website, Sports Betting Weekly, or at SB Weekly. Good Lord, you can tell it's been a while. At SB Weekly. And they're on in San Diego, but you can hear them via their website as well. And they have a cool video thing that they're getting ready to start as well. We're back because, well, I didn't have anything really else to do. And I miss talking to you guys. And I missed giving my opinions, which I'm sure a lot of you who listened before didn't miss. But it'll be cool when the video starts. You'll be able to interact with the show if you'd like. You'll be able to ask questions or give your thoughts, or you can also just be a douche and troll us if you like, I guess, as well, which we got a lot of that before. But it just I miss doing it, so I decided, well, let's do it, but let's do it a little different. And so we're going to add the video feature coming up. But, for now, enough going on in the sports world that I figured, well, let's do something with this. Obviously, the big news, especially in my world, but actually in all of sports world, is my beloved Chicago Cubs are going to the World Series, which starts tomorrow in Cleveland. An amazing scene the other night at Wrigley Field. I didn't realize, I guess, the hatred for Fox announcer Joe Buck, but there's actually been a petition started to pull Joe Buck from the World Series and have Bob Uecker do it. I don't know if he would be reprising his role from Major League as Harry Doyle, but a lot of people with a lot of hate towards Joe Buck, the Fox announcer, play-by-play guy. I will tell you that I did enjoy John Smoltz a ton. Maybe the best baseball analyst in the game right now. So good at the quick information in and out, and from an absolute excellent pitcher's point of view, who not only was a top-line starter, but also a reliever and a Hall of Famer. I thought Smoltz did a great job. And I wasn't bothered by Joe Buck as much, obviously, as other people were, but a lot of hatred for Joe Buck. I shared this with a lot of family and friends, being a lifelong Cubs fan, and the misery that comes with that. But I became a Cubs fan because it was a team that my grandfather followed and loved. And a lot of times I think we take our sports team love from, family or parents or their likes or dislikes. I'm definitely trying to steer my son to the teams that I like. Before, I thought it wouldn't be wise to make him a Cubs fan because he would learn what misery was all about. But I figured out he's got to learn it sooner or later. But I remembered sitting in 1984 with my grandfather watching the Cubs clinch in Pittsburgh, clinch the NL East crown, the pennant for the NL East at the time when the divisions were different. And it was funny because I didn't hear Joe Buck when that last play happened. All I could hear was Harry Carey and his call from the 84 game in Pittsburgh when the Cubs clinched.
Listen to those crowds. Might as well join them. Here comes. Cubs are the champion. The Cubs are the champion. The Cubs win. Look at that mob scene. Ursula got on strike. Rick Sutcliffe is 14th in a row. 16-1 for the year. He faced only 28 men. He pitched a two-hitter. Let's just watch him. The fans are getting out on the field. You'd think there were 50,000 here.
It's funny, a couple of things that you would think that game was in Chicago at Wrigley Field with the cheering going on. No, that was at the old Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh. The Cubs clinched in Pittsburgh. And another thing funny to me in that as well, as I listened back to it again. But again, all I could hear when the Cubs were going to the World Series was the Cubs are the champs, the Cubs are the champs, the Cubs win. And I remember having tears in my eyes as a young kid in '84 watching this. Because up until that point, I'd never seen the Cubs win anything. And so the fact that they had just won the NL East pennant and had a chance to go to the World Series at that point until, obviously, we were disappointed after San Diego just beat our brains in after we were up big in that series. But the fans rushing on the field. If that happened nowadays, good Lord. A bunch of those fans, if they would have done that in Wrigley Field Saturday night, would have been spending the night in jail. Different times that we live in now. In 2016 as opposed to 1984. But, I was asked to go out Saturday night to a sports bar to watch the game, which I thought would be cool to be around a lot of people and a lot of fans. And then the more I thought about it was, how will I feel, A, if the Cubs lose, which would suck for the rest of the night, Game 6, but how will I react and feel if the Cubs win, especially if I've got alcohol in me? And it's probably best that I didn't go out. Now, I saw video of a lot of people, and even some of my friends who had tears in their eyes, but man, I was just, I was happy, I was crying, I was emotional. I thought back, obviously about my grandfather took me to my first Cubs game. I think I'm glad I didn't go out. By the end of the night, after that, I think I would have been drunk dialing, people. I would have been trying to drunk dial Steve Stone. Because I'd have been emotional and drunk. So it's probably best that I didn't go out on Saturday night. But, wow, what a night. I've seen teams that I like or follow win. The Colts, who I love and follow. I got to see them win a Super Bowl back in 2006. I've seen the Blackhawks win a few times. Even some hometown teams win. Indiana basketball win. Granted, that's been a while. But I've never had a sports team make me feel the range of emotions that I felt the other night when the Cubs clinched to go to the World Series. And I've seen fans say that they would be happy. They're just happy the Cubs are going. They'd be okay if they lose. And obviously going to the World Series now as a Cubs fan, I want to win. But I see their point of view. Because it's like a monkey's been lifted off your back. For the longest time, Peyton Manning couldn't get past Tom Brady. Couldn't beat the Patriots. Couldn't beat him on a big night. Couldn't beat him on Monday nights. Couldn't beat him in prime time. And then finally he got that monkey off his back. He got that great quarterback, never to win a ring, off his back. And that's how it felt with the Chicago Cubs the other night. There was this great sense of joy. There was this sense of a little bit of sadness, for some folks, obviously, who never got to witness this in their lifetime. And there was that sense of relief, just like, oh, thank God. I never thought I'd get to see this in my lifetime. Because with the Cubs, something always happens. In 2003, after the Steve Bartman thing, which we'll get to here in a minute, but after the Cubs blew it to the Marlins in 2003, I left town and went on a week's bender and holed up in a hotel in Indianapolis, which is about 2 hours south of where I live, for a week. I took that so hard. And it's different. I've watched the Colts lose the Super Bowl. And just, I took that year so hard because it really felt like, man, here we go. And for those of you who still hold angst or anger towards Steve Bartman, for the love of God, get over it. You should have been over it years ago because, let's be honest, even if Moises Alou catches that ball, it wasn't Steve Bartman that ruined the next 3 games for them. If you want to blame somebody, be mad at Alex Gonzalez still. I tweeted out right after this was over, and I've seen other stories on it since then, that Steve Bartman should throw out the first pitch if he accepted the invitation, Game 3 at Wrigley Field. And hell, I tweeted at Charlie Sheen, if the Indians don't want you to throw out the first pitch, we'll adopt you. Come on over, Wild Thing. I looked up his stats for that '89 season for Ricky Vaughn. They projected he was 9-9 with a 3.45 ERA, a ton of strikeouts, and don't forget the hitting 101 on the radar gun against Clu Haywood, the Yankees' big slugger. Either way, whatever way the World Series winds up, you're going to have a team that's going to end a huge drought for that sport in their city, whether it's Cleveland or it's the Cubs. If you're a Cleveland sports fan at this point, would you take the Browns going 0-16 this year, which is, obviously was done by the Detroit Lions years ago. But would you take 0-16 with their Browns if it meant that you won a World Series and you won the NBA championship earlier this year with LeBron? Would you take your beloved football team, your beloved Browns, at 0-16? Because that's a record that's not soon forgotten. The Browns are terrible. But the Indians have a chance to win the World Series starting Tuesday night in Cleveland. For Chicago fans, I feel like it's going to be raucous. Look at the amount of Cubs fans that Fox was able to show in Los Angeles. Can you imagine the amount of Cubs fans that are going to travel to Cleveland? Going to be insane. It's going to be insane to watch this game. And, I said years ago on this show, which you can go back to the archives and look it up if you really feel the need to fact check. But at the time, to me, Theo Epstein was the biggest free agent pickup in Cubs history. Theo Epstein, the guy who had reversed the curse for the Boston Red Sox. Now, I know people got tough on Theo about year 3, but he had a plan, and he started to rebuild the farm system. And when everybody gets good and comes up together and matures together, this is what you get. You throw in a few veterans, and this is what you get. I know some people were down on the pickup of John Lester last year, and maybe you're down on the pickup of Jason Hayward, which he couldn't hit a softball at this point. But Theo to me was the most important pickup. Now I know a lot of people want to point their fingers towards Joe Madden, and he's a very important part. But to me, the architect of this whole thing and the guy who had the vision and stuck with it this whole time has been Theo Epstein, and he was talked to after the game on Fox.
This was a few years in the making. You've been here before. You felt this feeling before. What does this one feel like?
This is incredibly special. I want to thank all our scouting and player development people, everyone in the whole organization, from Tom and his family all the way down. It was a team effort. They hung in there through thick and thin. Our fans hung in there with us the whole time the last 5 years. And it's extra special because it goes out to Billy Williams is here on the field, and Ernie Banks and Ron Santo and the guys from '69 who could have got there, should have got there, almost did, and then the 84 teams, Ryan Sandberg is here, and Rick Sutcliffe and those guys. This is for all you guys, too.
Theo, when you took this job, what did you think of? Did you think this was possible?
Yeah. I mean, what prevents us from winning? And now all we got to do is win 4 or more. So when you got this kind of support from the fans, unbelievable players, the young guys, the veterans, they're all here for the same reason. Joe and his coaching staff, incredible leadership. Jed, Jason, the guys in the front office. All the ingredients are here. Now we just got to go do it, and that's our plan.
Can you talk a little bit about the guy to your left in Joe Madden? And what is the most incredible thing he's brought to the table for your organization?
Unbelievable job by Joe ever since he got here. Changed the culture at the major league level. We loved everything that was bubbling up in the organization from the minor leagues, but to finish it off at the big league level, Joe is the best in the business, getting guys to relax, be themselves, focus. We embraced the target this year. His leadership's been everything, allowed our young guys to settle in and play as well as we did tonight. You saw how well we played tonight. That happens when guys can be themselves and embrace the moment, and that starts with Joe up top and his coaching staff.
One last one, Theo, before we get to Joe. I know you got 4 more that you got to win, but to this point, what's been the most gratifying thing about this club this year?
I just think how everyone's in it together, you know, from John Lackey and the free agents who wanted to be here for this moment and to get to the World Series and 4 more wins, to the young guys who, from the moment they were drafted as Cubs, had this on their minds to win it for these fans. The fact that we were all together, and through the tough times, there was no one blaming anyone else. And now in the good times, no one's grabbing the credit. It's a complete team effort from top to bottom of the organization, all for one. Now we just got 4 more and do it for everyone here.
Theo Epstein, the architect of the Chicago Cubs team. And let's not take anything away from the Cleveland Indians and what Terry Francona has done. That was the manager that Theo Epstein had in Boston when they broke that curse. 2 guys who were maybe a little unconventional or who are definitely players managers going to go head to head in this World Series. The Indians were a team that looked to be done, in August with all the injuries that they had. And then were thought to, we're going to be a quick out in the playoffs. It's hard to say that without doing it. But the pitching staff stepped up. The offense stepped up, and they took down 2 teams that were pretty big offensive teams in the Texas Rangers, excuse me, and the Toronto Blue Jays. This Cleveland Indians team is no slouch. So even though the Cubs won 103 games this year, for Cubs fans who think this is going to be a walk in the park, I don't think this is good. That's going to be it at all. This could definitely be easily a 7-game series. And the Indians today talking about that they were going to go old school and pitch Corey Kluber if it does go 7, 1, 4, and 7. Hey, that's cool, man. Put your ace out there to win it or to lose it. We saw that with Clayton Kershaw the other night. And I will say this about the Los Angeles Dodgers and Dave Roberts. What a class act. I don't know if you saw the picture of the hug between him and Joe Madden in the bowels in the hallways of Wrigley Field. What a class act. Definitely manager of the year. I know a lot of people want to point towards Joe Madden, but if you look at what that Los Angeles Dodgers team went through, and especially the 2 months without Clayton Kershaw, their ace, the guy, and to catch and pass the San Francisco Giants, great job done by Dave Roberts and his staff and those Los Angeles Dodgers. But again, we look forward to the World Series. The Cleveland Indians and the Chicago Cubs coming up on Tuesday. For Cubs fans, Kyle Schwarber was brought up from fall ball in Arizona and added to the 40-man roster and is expected to be the DH in Game 1 Tuesday night. Schwarber, who is quite a slugger, who became a star last year, not only during the season but in the playoffs last year, and then tore up his knee in Game 3 this year. I mean, just a few games in. Returning from injury and on the roster, World Series roster for the Chicago Cubs. Cubs set up this way pitching-wise. John Lester will start Game 1, Arrieta Game 2, and then Kyle Hendricks will be back on the mound at Wrigley Field Game 3 on Friday. And we're going to talk a little football with the Colts coming up, but the theme today, and here's what really bothers me, the Sunday night game last night in football, and I'm going to tie these two together, just bear with me, ended in a tie last night. The Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals ended their football game in a tie. And ties have a huge effect on this World Series as well. But here were the, I guess not highlights, the lowlights of the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks, the ending of this game, which resulted in a 6-6 tie on Sunday Night Football.
24-yard attempt. Oh, he hits the upright. It's no good. How in the world?
That's the reason. I'm just telling you.
A minute left in overtime. And Wilson fires it to the outside, and Baldwin stays in bounds, and Baldwin takes the ball inside the 10. John Ryan to hold.
Oh.
And he misses it. That's impossible.
Oh, my God.
That is impossible.
I'm telling you, there's something inside his brain about this building.
Woo!
Oh, my goodness gracious.
That could not have happened.
You know what? Maybe this is justice for all concerned.
Oh, man. I guess if a game deserves to wind up in a tie, this is the one. Ryan puts it down. Hauschka just pulls it.
I'm just telling you, and we've watched this, Al. Every kick that Hauschka has made tonight, he has gone up and fooled around with the turf and felt uncomfortable. I don't know if he stuck his foot in the ground. That first field goal barely cleared. He kind of chunked that one a little bit. And maybe the happiest guy in the building right now is Chandler Catanzaro. Oh, my goodness.
And Larry Fitzgerald watching. Peterson watching. Ball at the 20-yard line. So do you settle for the tie, or do you air one out here and hope for a pass interference penalty that would extend the game? Three-man rush. Palmer running away. He's going to air one out all the way downfield. Jump ball incomplete. A bomb and incomplete. Fitzgerald, the intended man in the end zone, and that's the way it will end.
And that was how the game ended, a 6-6 tie. Now, I'm a proponent of a sport never being able to tie. And a lot of people will tell you, well, hey, that's the charm of soccer, a tie, when something ends 0-0 or 1-1. And we'll get into that here in just a few minutes. You're really going to see my ADHD come out as we jump around here. But it all relates to ties, and I promise if you bear with me, hopefully I'll be able to make my point, and you'll kind of see where I'm coming from. But as far as NFL games go, the tie isn't something that happens too often. Since 1998, there have been, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, including last night's tie. Going back to November 10th, 2002, the Steelers and Falcons tied at 34 apiece. November 16th, 2008, the Bengals and the Eagles tied 13-13. That was the game where Donovan McNabb started the post-game press conference saying that he didn't know that games could end in the tie. And Donovan, damn it, they shouldn't. But unfortunately, that one did. We have November 11, 2012, the 49ers and the Rams. This would be the first tie under that modified overtime rules where each team gets a chance to possess the ball. Would have been a tie under the old rules as well because neither team scored in the extra period. St. Louis had a game-winning field goal taken away because of a penalty. Both teams missed on field goal attempts in the overtime period. Back in 2013, November 24th, the Packers and the Vikings tied at 26 all. The Packers scored 16 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to tie the game at 23, forced overtime. Both teams scored a field goal in the overtime period, resulting in a final score of 26-26. And this being the first tie game in which both teams converted the field goal attempts in the extra period, but then still tied. October 12th, 2014, the Bengals again and the Carolina Panthers tied at 37. This being where both teams scored a field goal in the overtime period. The Bengals kicker Mike Nugent missed a 36-yard field goal attempt as the overtime period expired. This game was the highest scoring tie game in NFL history since the institution of overtime, as well as the first one since 1988 to occur in the month other than November. And then obviously last night's game between the Cardinals and the Seahawks. And here's what I hate about ties. I hate investing so much of my time into a game that doesn't have a winner. It's absolutely asinine. And that's what I used to hate, too, about the NHL until they modified their rules into a shootout in the 2005-2006 season. So now we have a winner. And I don't know how the NFL fixes this. Whether we continue like they would in the Super Bowl till we have a winner. Do we have a shootout of sorts with the field goal kickers? You know, I don't know. I don't know how to fix this, but I can't stand investing in my time, especially on a Sunday night, into a football game or a sporting event nonetheless, and not have a winner. We've never had an NBA game, as far as the research we could tell, that's ever in a tie. Baseball had the infamous tie in an exhibition game in the All-Star game back in 2002, which led us to where we're at right now. Because in any other sport, the Chicago Cubs, with 103 victories, the most in Major League Baseball, will be hosting Game 1 tomorrow night. But since the All-Star team of the American League won the All-Star game, an exhibition game, we're going to start it in Cleveland. That way, if there is a Game 7, if you're a Cubs fan, you'll be watching it take place at Progressive Field in Cleveland, not at Wrigley Field in Chicago, where it should be because the Cubs have the best record. This was where Bud Selig was embarrassed in his hometown back in 2002. He was the former owner of the Brewers and brought baseball back to Milwaukee. And in the 11th inning, both teams ran out of pitchers, and they called it a tie, to where many fans booed and were unhappy. So they decided to make it count. Remember, we got all those promos that no, it counts, right? We got these a lot of times. These were Fox All-Star Game promos.
This one counts. The 2009 All-Star Game. Next Tuesday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Only on Fox.
And as a Cubs fan, let's be honest, I never thought that this would ever pertain to my team. But I felt bad for teams, especially lately in the National League, as they very rarely win this game anymore, who have better records, who don't host the first game of the World Series. Meaning when it comes down to that seventh and important game, you're on the road. And let's be honest, the Cubs have been a better team at Wrigley Field. And if you believe in superstitions, which I'm a huge proponent of, now we start the series backwards. The Cubs, with their 103 wins, have had home field advantage through the National League playoffs. But now that doesn't matter because a collection of guys who aren't even playing in this baseball game, in this series, in this World Series, decided where home field advantage will lie because of a stupid tie in an exhibition game. I hate ties in sports. I mean, if Game 1 of the World Series goes 18 innings, are we going to call it a tie? Hell no. But we're going to let an exhibition game determine home field advantage for the World Series. What the hell's the point of winning 103 games then? Win enough to make sure you're in the playoffs, have home field advantage on your side, then rest your guys. Ties in football suck because not only does it suck to watch as a fan, but if you have a decent team in Arizona and in Seattle, this could affect you getting in the playoffs. You got a team in front of you that you're battling with to make the playoffs who doesn't have a tie. It could affect you getting in the playoffs. This is stupid. There should have been a winner last night. And maybe penalty kicks or maybe the kickoff or the shootout or whatever isn't the answer. Maybe we continue playing until we have a winner. I don't know. It was a terrible game all around, but then to end in a tie, I mean, NFL, give me something. I suffered through that game for 3.5 hours, a 6-6 football game. I watched more runs scored in a couple of games in baseball in this last week. But I had a 6-6 tie in an NFL game, and you wonder why ratings are down? It's terrible. There's a lot of terrible football this year. A lot. And speaking of terrible football, we'll get to the Colts here in a few minutes. But don't give me a tie. Give me something. As a football fan, as an invested viewer of two teams that I don't have a stake in, but I was pissed when the game ended in a tie. And I know what you're saying. I could have turned the TV off. I didn't have to watch the end. But after I invested that much time in it, I wanted to see a winner. And we'll get to Skip Bayless's comments on kickers here coming up as well. I know it seems like a good time to do it, but we've got it formatted out. He's part of our Twittiot segment that's coming up here in a few minutes. And I know for soccer fans that that's okay, and even make a great soccer game a lot of times when it's 0-0 or it's a tie, and soccer fans are cool with that, and that's fine. But that's one reason to me why soccer will never be huge in this country. I cannot invest my time, especially that much time, in a game not only where there could be a tie in the winner, but where there's no scoring at all. And you think maybe if you're not a big soccer fan, well, how often does that happen, really? It happens a lot. A ton. This going back to just to 2014, so there's 2 years of non-stats in here. James Curley, who's an assistant professor of psychology at Columbia University, compiled what is the world's biggest, probably known stats of games in the English football, which is soccer here, but you try to be proper. Now, on his page, there are scores of nearly 200,000 English soccer games played in the top four leagues since 1888, back to the days of like Jack the Ripper and Queen Victoria, right? So this is what he found in the last 125 years, well, now 127 years because this was done in 2014, of the English Football League. 27% of games have ended without a winner. In 126 years, when this survey was done, or this compilation was done, English football had seen 13,475 0-0 draws, meaning 0-0. The game ended at 0-0. 13,475 games of that. I'd prefer to watch another 108 years of my Cubs not going to a World Series. That's a lot of time invested in the games where not only does it end to the tie, nobody scores. And soccer fans are going to jump all over me, and if you want to, you can, at Mo Radio Show on Twitter. But that's not exciting to me. And then, well, you don't understand soccer that well. You're right, I don't. And why I haven't invested my time? I tried during the World Cup. And then I'll get people saying, well, if you only went to the World Cup and the United States isn't good, no wonder you weren't into it. No. Here's my biggest complaints about the World Cup. Two things, as I get off on the side tangent. As a fringe soccer fan, I didn't feel like the commentators did enough to explain the game to me. So I had to keep using my phone to look things up. But the other part is that I don't want to invest my time into a game not only where there's not scoring, but it ends in a tie. That's one of the reasons I used to like minor league hockey so much better than the NHL until NHL back in 2005 instituted the shootout. Because I didn't want to invest my time into a game where there wasn't a winner. And, you can tell me about the intricacies of the game and how the great athletes they are. And it's an honor to end in 0-0. No, that sucks. Ties suck all around. But to have a tie where nobody scores, that's terrible. 16% of those totals, about 22,000 games, ended in a 1-1 tie. Woohoo! I mean, if that's your thing, I guess that's great. I wouldn't want to play a board game where there wasn't a winner. Or like, screw it, let's just give up, everybody wins. No, that's the problem nowadays. Everybody doesn't win. You don't need a participation ribbon. 0-0, there's not a winner. Well, but it was a great game. No, it wasn't. Nobody scored. It wasn't a great game. Well, but the defense and the goal. No, nobody scored. That's not great. That's not even good. That's terrible. I mean, Christ, if you're going to tie, at least tie it 1-1. 13,475 0-0 or nil draws in 126 years of the English football. Those are just the English football leagues. 13,475 up to 2014, 0-0 draws. And what are we talking about? 6 since 1998 in the NFL? And that's 6 too many. I mean, I guess at least some of the games, they were higher scoring games. It was a 37-37 back in 2014. But to invest 3.5 hours last night of a terrible football game and then to not have a winner is just terrible. Now, I don't want to see the NFL overreact because they're never out in front of anything. They always react to things that happen. I'd hate to see them react and do something stupid like baseball did, to where now the team with the best record is not hosting the World Series. They're going to Cleveland because of an exhibition game with a bunch of players who weren't on their team that decided where they'd start. I don't want the NFL to overreact, but I want to see a winner. Whether overtime keeps going until somebody scores. If a damn baseball game can go 18 innings, why can't we have another overtime period? I mean, to me, let's be honest, and it's not even one of the top 2 sports or even top 3 sports. But there's nothing more exciting than overtime playoff hockey in the NHL. Absolutely. I look forward to playoff hockey every single year, especially when it goes into overtime. Because you know that they're going to skate until somebody scores a goal, whether it's 1 period or 5. And it got to the point a year and a half ago when the Chicago Blackhawks won again that they were masters of the overtime period. Why can't football keep playing? You know, the idea of a shootout or a kickoff or whatever, we'd have the field goal kickers go back and forth. All right, probably asinine. But at least extend the game to where there's a winner. We've seen ties affect sports. And you're going to see a tie not only affect sports in the Sunday Night Football game, but this tie from 2002 in the All-Star game, an exhibition game, is affecting the 2016 World Series and possibly for baseball, the most important World Series in its history, other than when the Red Sox broke their curse in 2004. There's no doubt in my mind that this series is going to do bigger ratings than that series would have. Now, obviously, it's not the dream matchup, I don't think, excuse me, for Fox, because I'm sure they'd rather have somebody else other than Cleveland. I'm sure they would rather have a Yankees in there, maybe a Red Sox. But the Chicago Cubs have done nothing but drive ratings this whole playoff season so far. Even games where they stuck on the MLB network. Even the casual fan or the non-baseball fan will be tuning in to see what the Cubs do in the World Series. This is probably going to blow the doors off any rating there ever was. Now, you can tell me that I'm a homer and I'm saying this is the most important World Series of all time, but let's be honest, for baseball it is. And you think this is the last real story in major sports like this, 108 years in the making. If the Cubs win the World Series this year, there's nothing to talk about next year at the beginning of the baseball season. Could this be the year the Cubs do it? That takes away a major talking point for sports fans and sports talk hosts. You know, I've been the wait till next year guy forever for the Chicago Cubs. But to me, this tie from 2002, where Bud Selig was embarrassed in his hometown, shouldn't decide where my team starts the World Series, especially a team that won 103 games. I'm sorry. It's stupid. Haven't we gone on long enough with this thing? Can we stop it now? Does it really still need to count? Huh? Really?
This one counts. The 2009 All-Star Game. Next Tuesday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Only on Fox.
I mean, let's be honest. Does the All-Star Game, is it still really that big of a deal? I know, obviously, the Pro Bowl is terrible. I've gotten to the point where I don't even watch it anymore. And I know a lot of people dislike the NBA All-Star Game, but I like the lack of defense and the nonstop scoring and the fun stuff. And let's be honest, is the fringe baseball fans or even the casual fan, when was the last time you really checked into an All-Star game? Derek Jeter's last All-Star game? Does the All-Star game mean that much? Is Home Run Derby the bigger event of the All-Star week? Probably. It's an exhibition game that people really don't give a damn about anymore. Does it still need to count? And I'm not even talking for the Cubs. I hate it every year when it happens to a team, especially a team with a better record. That's stupid. If you want to make it count, figure out another way. Or, hey, look, it's an exhibition game. Add more players to the team so it doesn't happen again. What happens if next year's All-Star game goes 18 innings and we're out of pitchers and we ended in a tie? How do we decide where the World Series starts then? We started at a neutral field? I know a lot of people are okay with the tie last night in football, but maybe your time doesn't mean that much to you. I don't know. It's not that I had anything pressing to do, but after suffering through 3.5 hours, especially of that game, give me a winner. Would you want your favorite football team, the team that you followed, to have a tie on their record this year? Now, if you're the Browns fan, maybe you would. But no. What does that do? How does that help you? How does that help you at all? And now you've got a tie affecting where the World Series starts, because if you look at it, in 2001, this World Series will be starting in Wrigley Field. And maybe that doesn't matter to a lot of people. If your team's good enough, they should be able to win on the road too. I'm not saying that. But besides Game 7, you want to play at your park, on your field, on your court. Now, I know you can show me tons of statistics where road teams have won Game 7s. I understand that. But having the crowd and the home field advantage, it's the reason you play so hard. You win so many games. Now, it didn't work out for Golden State last year, but that's why you have the best record. You want to play that important game on your court. I just hate that a tie in an exhibition game did this. I hate the tie last night in the football game. I want the NFL to figure out how to make this not happen again. And soccer, I mean, you can throw all the soccer facts you want at me. You can tell me how great and how awesome a 0-0 tie is, or it's 0-0. No, it's not great. That's terrible. Nobody can score. Well, it was a great defensive. I hate when people say, "Oh, a 1-0 game in baseball." I hate those too. It was a pitcher's duel. Now I want to see offense. I want to see offense. I hate a 1-0 pitcher's duel in baseball as well. But at least it's not a 0-0 tie. Need a break to get this cold under control. But we'll come back and we'll talk about the Indianapolis Colts and their mediocre season so far. Plus, a man that people love to hate, Skip Bayless, got into another Twitter war, this time with a Twitter ninja in the punter of the Indianapolis Colts, Pat McAfee. We'll talk about that coming up as well. Plus, maybe we'll even throw away a random fact here or two. Take a quick break. We'll be right back. You are listening to the Mo Radio Show on the Showtime Worldwide Radio Network.
At ChampionshipFootballs.com, we offer a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football that we sell. It's simple. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. There's nothing worse than trying to find the right gift for somebody that has everything. Whether that special present is for a New England Patriots or a Baltimore Ravens fan. Maybe Gramps is a lifelong Giants supporter, or your brother-in-law lives in Seattle. Know a member of the Ohio State Alumni Association? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Sorry, we can't help you if you follow the Buffalo Bills or those San Diego Chargers. If you're a New Mexico State or Tulane alumnus, not much we can do. After all, it's not, "You had a pretty good season, footballs.com. It's championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
Is that iced tea?
Nope, it's lemonade.
Is that iced tea?
Lemonade.
Iced tea?
What's with these people, man? Lemonade. Read the sign. Lemonade. Read it.
Okay.
Delicious.
Iced tea at a lemonade stand? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much money Marin saved by switching to Geico.
It's lemonade, man.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
This is Second Half Chaz from Sports Betting Weekly, and if you watch sports, you have to get one of these WatchEveryGame.com boxes. You don't even have to be a sports bettor to know a winner when you find one. However, if you do bet on sports, the WatchEveryGame.com internet streaming box is a must-have.
Chaz, are you busy?
Honey, I'm recording a commercial for the WatchEveryGame.com box.
Oh, tell them about the movies.
Vic, I'm letting them know that football, basketball, baseball, the fights, it doesn't matter. We get them all and only pay for basic cable.
Yeah, that's all great, but let them know about the movies.
Okay, I'll tell them about the movies. Now, will you please let me finish the WatchEveryGame.com spot?
Yeah, I know. Leave me alone. I'm working.
So if you like sports or movies, use promo code MOVIE at WatchEveryGame.com and you'll save $50 off of your WatchEveryGame.com box.
It looks like we're a two-box family.
Hey Siri, I need a winner for this weekend.
Every sports bettor should listen to Sports Betting Weekly Saturdays at 8 a.m. on ESPN 1700. It's as many opinions on as many games as 1 hour can handle.
Now that's a smartphone.
This is a bad show. They worked really hard, and it didn't make it good.
The Mo Radio Show.
Baseball season's underway. Well, you better get ready for a brand new day. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. They're singing, go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go! Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win.
Welcome back into the Mo Radio Show. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget, coming up here soon, and we'll put it up on Twitter. Didn't like making an announcement with giving out all the facts, but we'll be doing the video version of the show as well here soon. You can follow us on Twitter, and by us I mean me, at Mo Radio Show. If you want to comment or troll or just be a douche, I do respond to everyone, unless you're just being flat out an idiot. Obviously playing this as a Cubs fan. Cubs start the World Series against Cleveland tomorrow night. And I think it'll be a great series. I think it's going to be tough. Probably if it going 7, probably pretty good. Unless the Cubs offense falls apart again. And it's weird because as a Cubs fan, I don't know how to feel right now. I've never had this feeling before in my life. I'm getting to see my baseball team play relevant games at the end of October and into November. The hell's going on? You know, there was some excitement last year when the Cubs got swept in the NLCS by the Mets. And obviously the debacle in 2003, where hopefully at this point, if you were still hanging on to some anger for Steve Bartman, I hope to God that this was enough for you to let it go finally. And again, like I said, it would be great to see Steve Bartman throw out a first pitch to get the I'm sorry's, basically from a cheering crowd at Wrigley Field. Unless the Cubs went on to lose that game. I don't know if you saw in the game, Game 6 on Saturday night, a foul ball hit over to the first base side where Anthony Rizzo caught it, and a guy holding 2 other guys back and trying to grab at it. And then a shot later in the game, eerily, right by the Steve Bartman seat over there in Wrigley Field. But if you're still holding on to anger for Bartman, for the love of God, let it go. If you feel like you still need to blame somebody in case the Cubs lose the World Series, blame Alex Gonzalez for letting the ball go through his legs. Or that team for letting the Marlins back in it after being up 3-1. I've invested in some Grey Goose just in case something insane happens. Because at this point, it's like you're playing on house money if you're the Cubs. Right? You got the monkey off your back. You're in a World Series. Granted, you want to see your team win. I want to see the Cubs win the World Series. But you're playing with house money. You've got that initial monkey off your back. You're in a World Series. And let's be honest, if the Cubs do win the World Series, the problems are just starting. Because the Cubs have never had to go into it the next year with guys wanting so much more money or teams trying to pick their team apart because they won the World Series. We see it happen all the time in football. Guys sign big contracts after being on Super Bowl winning teams and on NBA championship teams. The Cubs have never been in that position to where, they're going to have to try to hang on to guys or overpay guys after coming off a World Series win. It could be tough now, even if they don't win the World Series. Aroldis Chapman, immediately comes to mind. Obviously, having a closer in this day and age is important. The Dodgers are going to have that issue too with Kenley Jansen. Their closer is a free agent as well. And the theme today is kind of centered around ties, and we'll move on from that. But again, NFL, Roger Goodell, please figure out a way to make this not happen again. And I hope to God baseball comes to their senses at some point and takes home field advantage for the World Series away from the winning team in the All-Star game. An exhibition of players not even playing, for the most part, in this World Series. I mean, we've got a couple of Cubs and a few Indians, but we let guys and managers who are no part of this World Series decide because Bud Selig got embarrassed back in 2002, and so now this one counts.
The 2009 All-Star Game. Next
Tuesday,
8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, only on Fox.
But, because the show's based in Indiana, and I'm not sure, how we're going to put this show out nationally yet. So right now we're going to cover a lot of the local stuff. Obviously, the tie last night, a national game in this World Series, maybe the biggest sporting event in years at this point. Obviously, the city of Cleveland ending their sports team drought with LeBron and the Cavs winning earlier this year. Big story, right? Huge. But we're talking about 108 years of futility in Chicago. So this World Series is going to be huge. The Indianapolis Colts came back to win a football game yesterday against the Tennessee Titans after blowing a lead on Sunday Night Football. I mean, maybe as a Colts fan, I should have prayed for a tie a week ago after they blew a huge lead to the Texans in the last 2+ minutes. But here's how the game came about and looked yesterday in Tennessee.
Mariota play action goes underneath. It's caught. This is Taylor Lewan. Surprise, surprise. And look at the big fella.
And they completely fooled the defense for the Indianapolis Colts.
Ryan Suckup on for the point after. Looked like a box hold on the play. Brett Kern, the punter, is when you include the playoffs. 2nd and 2. Luck off the far side. It's caught. Where do they go here on 2nd and goal? Looked like Luck bobbled the snap for a moment. Throws end zone. Frank Gore on the Indianapolis touchdown. Luck has time. Going end zone. It is caught for the Indianapolis touchdown. It's T.Y. Hilton. Pretty short kick here. And they catch Tennessee napping. Football is loose, and Indianapolis has recovered. Matt Overton is the long snapper from 28. Vinatieri is perfect. He's 6 of 6. On 2nd and 5, Mariota taking a shot off the far side. Incomplete. Boy, Walker trying to make a one-handed catch, and a marker comes in.
Pass interference. Defense, number 29. Spot the foul. Automatic first down.
What happens here on the 11th play of the drive? 2nd and goal. Give to Murray. Boy, he looked like he had it, and then the football comes loose. And now they signal touchdown Tennessee. And now Vinatieri to attempt the NFL record for consecutive makes on field goals, and he's got it. He passes Mike Vanderjagt with his 43rd consecutive make. Going end zone, caught. Jack Doyle for the Indianapolis touchdown. Mariota and the Titans start from their own 25. 1st and 10, that football comes loose, and it's taken by Robert Mathis, and he's in for the Colts touchdown.
And for the first time in a long time, the Colts defense comes up with a big play in crunch time. And with the Texans losing to the Broncos on Monday Night Football, this Colts team with a win last week could have been in first place. That's how sorry this division is and has continued to be, and which makes this play of the Indianapolis Colts team even worse. They've struggled with terrible teams this year. With San Diego, with the Bears, with Detroit. with Houston, with Tennessee. If the Colts were in first place, you're looking at a team that's going to get bounced out of the playoffs quick. And a lot of Colts fans have gotten to the point to where, they're writing the season off already and are looking, maybe we need a top 10 draft pick. But how could that make you feel good as a Colts fan? Your front office is terrible. Maybe the only worst front office in the National Football League, whether it's come to free agents or the draft, has been the Cleveland Browns. And they hustled you out of a first-round pick for that tub of lard Trent Richardson. I mean, come on. Write the season off already, Colts fans. Really? I mean, granted, getting to the playoffs and getting smacked around in the first round isn't fun. But do you have confidence in Ryan Grigson and this Colts front office to make a decent draft pick? He sure as hell can't draft linemen, and he's a former one. I mean, no offense to Philip Dorsett, but weren't there other needs? Instead of drafting another receiver in the first round? And the Colts have been terrible, when it comes to drop passes. I know a lot of people want to put this on Andrew Luck, but there's been a ton of drop passes. And the worst thing the Colts are doing is stupid penalties, especially at critical points. You can't have 12 penalties for 131 yards Sunday and win football games normally. The Colts lucked out because this Tennessee team is a little bit better than average, but they're not good. They're not a good football team. Tennessee fans are celebrating the first 2-game winning streak in years, and they were happy about that. And let's be honest, folks, yesterday Tennessee, their team and their fans thought that this was going to be an easy game. They were going to have a 3-game winning streak, and they damn near did. After the game, Andrew Luck was asked about the mindset coming back on the field to try to lead the Colts on the game-winning touchdown drive.
Yeah, I don't think anybody blinked. We know the sort of focus of the day was just do your job. And our job in that situation was get a positive play. And another one, and try and find a way to get points on the board, and which we did. Ended with 7.
Andrew Luck is such a humble guy for an NFL quarterback, but he's so awkward and dorky. He's my quarterback, but he's awkward and dorky. And the weird sounds he makes. Listen to him at the beginning of this, when he was asked about the mindset going in there.
Yeah, I don't think anybody blinked. We know the sort of focus of the day was just do your job.
Just such a weird, awkward dude with the media. Then he was asked after the game how big this win was. And I hate when reporters ask it, well, how big was this? Talk about how big this win was.
Oh, it's huge. Totally huge. We needed it in the worst kind of way, especially on the road against a really good divisional opponent.
It's just so weird. Talk about what Pat McAfee looks like in the shower.
Oh, it's huge. Totally huge. We needed it.
It's just so weird. And what was even more weird when he was asked about the play of Jack Doyle, the tight end.
He's the stud. And all those guys are. And, today it's Jack making all the plays. Next time it's someone else. The guys step up. I think T.Y. and Jack really put it upon themselves to have a big day, especially with, maybe some uncertainty at other below them in their position group. But they did a heck of a job. Eric Swoop did a heck of a job. Chester Rogers, Devin Street, Devon Smith, the running backs, Chase Kaufman stepping up. Everybody stepped up and did their part.
And he talks about Devin Street. Okay, he had a couple of good catches there, but, could have cost the Colts big time. You don't get an unsportsmanlike conduct for spiking the football after a first down. It's like, guys, I hate the fact that you always have to point out a first down when you make one, especially teams that are losing big. Oh, celebrate a first down? Come on. Luck is just so weird. Have you ever talked about your friends and been like, oh, yeah, he's a stud?
He's the stud. And all those guys
yeah, he's a stud. Yeah. What about Jack in the shower?
Oh, it's huge. Totally huge. We needed it.
Luck's just so weird and goofy with the media. I mean, thank God he's good at football. Or it just could be the fact that that poor bastard's been knocked around so much during his career in the NFL because the offensive line's terrible. It's just knocked him silly. And, of course, after the game, Chuck Pagano was his usual self of saying a lot without saying anything.
Obviously, a great win, much needed division win on the road against a really good football team. Credit the Titans. They played one heck of a game. Got a ton of respect for this organization and Mike Mularkey and his staff. Obviously, again, got off to a fast start, which was good. Didn't play well. Obviously, towards the end of the second quarter, we had an opportunity, first and goal at the 7, shoot ourselves in the foot and have to settle for 3, and then give up a 2-minute drive. But the coaches, the players did a great job. Came in at halftime, made some adjustments. There's going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be ups and downs. But this team found a way to get a win here today, and bunch of great performances by a bunch of guys and some young guys stepping up, and critical third down makes on offense, and Jack Doyle and Street making a play, getting the crap knocked out of him, coming back in and making a huge play. Obvious congratulations to Adam and the record that he broke. It's such an honor and privilege to be able to come to work every single day and work with that guy.
All right. First things first, before we get to Chuck. I hate when football coaches or players say, well, you got to give, congrats to the Tennessee Titans. They're a great football team. No, they're not. No, they're not. Why does every football coach who wins have to say that? I heard Marvin Lewis from Cincinnati say that about the Browns. You got to give credit to the Browns. They're a great football team. No, they're not. They haven't won a game all year. No, they're not. It reminds me of when people say, well, yeah, so-and-so had successful surgery. Well, no kidding. Because if they didn't, they'd be dead, right? I hate that, especially about athletes. Whoever had successful surgery on his knees. Well, great. Because if he didn't, he'd be dead. Why can't you just say, hey, he had surgery and it's over? You got to give credit to the Titans. They're a great football team. No, they're not. They're a terrible football team. They have a losing record, just like you do. I mean, I would drug test Marvin Lewis today. Got to give credit to the Browns. They're a great football team. No, they're not. Everybody's kicked their butt all year long. They haven't won a football game. They're not a great team. They're a terrible team. I hate when people say that. Obviously, the press conferences, you would think for the most part, with the players and everybody, are a little different than last week after blowing that lead to the Texans. But listen to how similar Chuck Pagano's news conference was from the Texans last week, from how it compared to the Titans. Almost the same format. Gives credit to a tough team, and obviously we had some players who played great. But just listen to the similarities.
We start some games slow and finish strong, and we started that one really good, strong, and didn't finish well, obviously. And so, credit Houston. They played well. They got the momentum there late and made plays, and we didn't execute, down the stretch the way that we executed early in that game. I'm encouraged. You guys probably think I'm crazy, but I'm really encouraged because we got a group of guys and coaches that care, and they'll fight. And there's no pity parties in this building. There's no pity parties in football. You watch the tape, again, you make the adjustments, the corrections, and you move on.
Very similar press conference. It's hard to tell by listening to both of those which game you won and which game you lost. And Chuck seems like a great guy, a really nice guy. But sometimes when your team is playing like the Colts have played this year, I want my coach to be pissed off. I know these millionaires don't like to be yelled at, and they all want to be coddled. But sometimes I want the coach to come in there and throw some things and be mad. And it doesn't feel like Chuck has the ability to do that. And sometimes he just makes the weirdest decisions. And you never get anything out of him at a press conference. Says a lot of words, but nothing that ever means anything. It's just, I want to move on, and I'm positive. You're going to think I'm strange. Well, yeah. You blew a huge lead in the last 2+ minutes. You could be in first place right now. Of a terrible division, but in first place. And your press conferences are eerily similar. I applaud the positivity. But sometimes I just want a coach to come in there and be pissed off. I can't imagine if the Patriots would have played like the Colts did the last 2 weeks, that Bill Belichick would have been, hey, rah, guys, we'll get him next time. I can't imagine Jim Harbaugh was, hey, rah, guys. No. Sometimes I want my coach to come in there and just be mad. Throw some things. Tell guys they suck. I mean, it's great that you're nice and you want to be everybody's friend, but Chuck, sometimes you just got to get mean. One of the bright spots, though, was Adam Vinatieri. I mean, it's sad that a lot of the bright spots this year have been on special teams. The Colts with an onside kick yesterday, and the run that Adam Vinatieri is having at this point in his career at this age has been unreal. Adam was asked about the record after the game yesterday.
Well, it's really special. I know Mike Vanderjagt held the record before that, and that was a heck of a record that he did. There's a lot of great kickers out there that have done a lot of good things. So, I can't say enough about the guys up front blocking for me, and Matt and Pat. They do such a great job, and it's really 11 guys. It's a team thing, and I love those guys. They do a great job, and they make my job. They give me an opportunity to kick the ball, and just very happy that they've all gone through so far. So, love the win today, but we just got to get back to work and keep it going. This is a minor stepping stone, and hopefully we can continue to build on it.
Yes, that was Adam Vinatieri and not Chuck Pagano. It's funny, you don't hear about Mike Vanderjagt that much, and Adam Vinatieri is a lot more complimentary than the last time we heard about Mike Vanderjagt on national TV.
Here we are. I'm out of my third Pro Bowl. We're talking about our idiot kicker who got liquored up and ran his mouth off. So what has the sports world come to? We're talking about idiot kickers. He has ruined kickers for life. Akers and Vinatieri, these guys are great guys. They've been getting killed all week because our idiot ran his mouth. So when I get home, I'll deal with it. Tony and I talked about it. It's kind of funny, really, when you think about it. If he is still a teammate, we'll deal with it. That remains to be seen. But the sad thing is, Lynn, he's a good kicker. He's a good kicker, but he's an idiot.
Peyton Manning with his he needs a class on how to insult people a little better, I think. Not a great smack talker there. But how many times did he say idiot kicker? 4 or 5 in that? Imagine if Vinatieri would have done that yesterday.
Well, it's really special. I know Mike Vanderjagt held the record before that, and that was a heck of a record that he did. There's a lot of great kickers out there that have done a lot of good things.
Yeah, Mike Vanderjagt, a lot nicer. That Peyton Manning, though, from the Pro Bowl. See, that even though the Pro Bowl sucks, that was a highlight of it that year. Here
we are. I'm out of my third Pro Bowl. We're talking about our idiot kicker who got liquored up and ran his mouth off. So what has the sports world come to? We're talking about idiot kickers. He has ruined kickers for life. Akers and Vinatieri, these guys are great guys. They've been getting killed all week because our idiot ran his mouth. So when I get home, I'll deal with it. Tony and I talked about it. It's kind of funny, really, when you think about it. If he is still a teammate, we'll deal with it. That remains to be seen. But the sad thing is, Lynn, he's a good kicker. He's a good kicker, but he's an idiot.
He's a good kicker, but he's an idiot. Speaking of idiot kickers, that brings us to one of my favorite Twitter segments, our Twittiot of the week. Somebody who's just absolutely ridiculous on Twitter.
140 characters is enough to say. I'll be sure to tweet and keep it short and sweet. Why don't you follow me? I'm on Twitter. Hey, this is my Twitter. You can follow me on it.
Well, Skip Bayless, who I have no love lost for at all, he was upset about the tie on Sunday Night Football as well. And like always, when you're angry, you should always take to Twitter, and Skip Bayless decided to. He's the host now of Undisputed with Shannon Sharp, which is supposed to be a ripoff, I guess, of whatever that other ridiculous show he was on. Skip Bayless, at Real Skip Bayless, says, I despise field goal kicking. Great athletes fight their guts out for 4 quarters and overtime, and two non-football player kickers blow it. They went on to say, someday somebody will listen to me. Field goal kicking should be eliminated. Keep punting, but you must go for it or punt every 4th down. Of course, Pat McAfee, the Colts Twitter ninja, and arguably the league's best punter, quote tweeted Bayless and said, but my brother, all of us pro ball kickers love old men who get on TV and act like expletives while wearing makeup. Let's hug it out. McAfee also went on to post a picture of long snapper Matt Overton and Adam Vinatieri, saying, I'm lucky to be a part of this. Obviously, the fire from the first time that Bayless has enraged Colts fans. He said back October 14, 2012, I'll say it again, give me RG3 over Luck any day, any night, any year, any career. How'd that one work out for you, Skippy? I have a feeling we're going to be seeing Skip Bayless a lot in our Twittiot segment.
You've sent a tweet to the internet.
Genius in 140 characters.
And in case you haven't listened to us much or back in the past, we do have a special song for guys like Skip.
You're a douchebag. 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 You're a douchebag. Douchebag. Douchebag.
Ah, yes. Skip Bayless. And I have a feeling we'll be hearing that a lot this year when Skip Bayless says ridiculous things. And that's a problem with Skip because I don't believe he believes a lot of these things that he says. He says it just to get reactions. I hate disingenuous people, especially in sports talk. But nonetheless, we're gonna get on out of here. Again, don't forget on Twitter @Mo Radio Show, and we'll be announcing soon when this video version will start, whether it's a daily show or it's going to be weekly. But you'll be able to interact during the show, whether it be with video comments on the video or by calling in, what have you. But it's time to give you a nice random fact to send you on your way, as we talked about big time with ties in the NFL and in soccer, and the tie that obviously cost the 103-win Cubs to not have home field advantage in this World Series.
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
Well, after the tie in 2002, Baseball Solution, obviously, A, was to the winning league would get home field advantage for the World Series. It was believed at the time that would lead to the All-Star Game becoming more competitive again. They should have done this before, but rosters eventually expanded to 34, with teams having to carry a minimum of 13 pitchers. And normally they would let the starters who pitched on Sunday still be on the team, and so they had obviously less pitchers. Now those pitchers are replaced. But now all-star teams, 34 players with a minimum of 13 pitchers. Hopefully now we can figure out a way to get rid of the tie, to do away with the tie from back in 2002 and let the best team with the best record host the World Series.
Now I know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Before we get on out of here, as we always like to do, we like to ask the boys, how was the show today?
What's wrong with you?
It's either this show or indigestion. I hope it's indigestion.
Why?
It'll get better in a little while.
Yeah, thanks, boys. We'll get out here. The World Series starts tomorrow in Cleveland, Game 1. Good luck to you, Indians fans, but it sure will be nice to see the Cubs win the World Series. We'll leave you with the way the Cubs do after a win. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Again, if you have comments, want to argue or troll, @Mo Radio Show on Twitter, and you'll be able to start watching the show and interacting with it as well. A little rough first show in a while, since the end of May, since my former co-host Billy Elvis moved over to Lima 93.1 The Fan, at Billy Elvis on Twitter. You can hear him every morning with Koza in the morning, and Saturdays on Sports Talk with Billy Elvis. You can get the app and listen and troll there as well. Again, thanks for listening. You're listening to the Mo Radio Show on the Showtime Worldwide Radio Network.
Baseball season's underway. Well, you better get